Chinese on MLK and just had a delicious lunch, and nothing's better than following up a delicious lunch with a depressing conversation about a budget. So that's what we're doing.
So can you give us like a general overview, a general picture of what's happening and how it's different from past years?
Sure. Well, we're talking about the Multnomah County budget, and because of things that have happened in the state, Multnomah County's budget tends to be kind of bad even in good times. In fact, we've cut our budget 8 years in a row. This 9th year, after 8 years of cuts, we're looking at massive cuts. And it's because of what's happened in the economy nationally and locally. The resources, the revenues that are available to fund programs have just fallen through the floor. And unfortunately, it's at the exact same time that demand for our services is just skyrocketing. So we have this awful mismatch right now.
Do you have any sense for where the cuts will come from?
Well, you know, the chair's budget's being released next week, so we don't know exactly what he's proposing. But if you look at what Multnomah County does, you can get a pretty good guesstimation. And we have, I guess, first thing I should say is we have a general fund, which is the monies that we raise locally through our own taxes next week, so we don't know exactly what he's proposing. But if you look at what Multnomah County does, you can get a pretty good guesstimation. And we have, I guess, first thing I should say is we have a general fund, which is the monies that we raise locally through our own taxes. And then we also get money from the state and federal government. We're not really in a position to decide what happens there. We know there's cuts coming from above, and it's going to be a bummer, but we don't yet know what those are going to look like. Our local budget, which usually is in the range of about $340 million, is overwhelmingly spent on two things. We have a big government allotting for two things: public safety and helping vulnerable people. Between them, it's about 80% of our general fund, maybe even closer to 90%. So when you ask where the cuts are going to fall, public safety and helping vulnerable people are going to get cut.
Is there anything that we can do to raise revenue or re-engineer the way that county services are done to save money?
Yeah, well, we have to. I mean, I told you the size of the budget. We're looking at a cut this year of somewhere between $40 and $45 million. And one thing I'll say is I don't believe we can just cut $40 to $45 million worth of programs. We've been cutting and cutting and cutting, and if we just cut more, we're going to wind up not being the kind of community that we think we are and not taking care of people and having good problems. So the good news is people are stepping up in a lot of different ways. One thing is, and the employees of Multnomah County are really stepping up and helping with the situation, but even still, we're looking at something like a $30 million shortfall. I'm going to be proposing a tax increase for motor vehicle rentals. Right now, the county does tax motor vehicle rentals. We have the infrastructure in place, and with a relatively modest increase, about another 4%, we can raise another $5 or $6 million, which helps cut the deficit further and does it in a way that I think is inflicting relatively minimal pain on Multnomah County residents. So that helps to get us further as well, assuming we can pass that. But at the end of the day, we're still looking at a significant amount of cuts. One thing that I've been impressed with is a lot of county departments are trying to figure out ways of re-engineering their programs so they can be more efficient. The health department I just met with yesterday, and just by making changes to the way some of their services are provided, they're able to save several $1 million, and that's terrific. And we're working as hard as possible to try to make these cuts not actually affect consumers of our services.